Welcome back to the channel, everyone. The words they use in these bank documents can hide things or they can unveil things. We have to be very careful when they're, utilizing an altered term or using a brand new term, because we need to know what they're speaking about. Now, when they're talking about, and this has been happening a lot lately, the last year, right? But most recently, we just keep seeing this verbiage, liquidity enhancer. And I think some people just gloss over that superficially. Oh, liquidity, they're tokenizing the value. Well, firstly, the first thing you're going to notice, a lot of these recent documents, who are the ones talking about liquidity enhancers? That's number one. When you start looking at a list, you just take a short list, do a Google search. Banks, do a Google search, banks who have spoken about tokenized liquidity enhancers. Make sure you use that phrase and have it give you like a list, right? You're going to see a lot of those names look familiar, as we're going to delve into here. It's telling a story. They're hiding a lot, and it's what I've been speaking about, right? But when you know the terminologies, the meaning behind the terminologies they're using, it shows that what we've been uncovering here is the truth. Okay, let me give you an example. So you do that search. We start to come up with names like this, right? Tokenized liquidity enhancers, which obviously, wait. Bear with me. Look at just a few of the names on here are all familiar, are they not? HSBC, BNP Paribas, Standard Chartered, BNY Mellon. I wonder who works with BNY Mellon. And they're speaking about liquidity enhancers. But wait, I know what you're saying. Well, Mick, they're just, here's the superficial aspect. Don't let them get away with it. Oh, well, Mick, they're just talking about tokenization of various assets. Really? Let me ask you a question. And here's why it pays to be a researcher and ask questions at all times. Questions are going to get you to the prize more times than not. You're not going to get to the prize while asking powerful questions, but one must be brave to ask those questions. What do you need in order to maximize the value that you will reap from liquidity enhancers? What do you need? Once more, let's go back to this particular bank that the next two on the list, BNY Mellon and ANZ Bank. What do they have in common? I'm quite certain ANZ Bank is one of the banks that work with Ripple. Do a little Google search. Am I wrong? Should we do that right now on the spot? Let's go here. ANZ Bank, Ripple worked with a cadre of Australian banks. Yes, I remember. I believe ANZ was one of them. Let's just type this in. ANZ Bank. I'm on google.com. ANZ Bank. And I'm just going to type Ripple. Let's see what happens. Let's see what pops up. I knew it. See, I told you. I remember. It says here from google.com, ANZ Bank has a history of working with Ripple. Okay, now let's go back to the other page. Wait, let me click it. Give me some time. I'm getting older. Give me some time. Hold on. ANZ Bank and BNY Mellon both have a relationship with Ripple. Put two and two together. We're going somewhere with this. We're going somewhere, right? So they both have this relationship with Ripple, and I know some people are going to minimize. People love that. I've seen it for years. They love it. That's their way. So be it. I don't do that. I try to recognize and understand all possible sides of something. Then, with deductive and inductive reasoning, whichever works better, maybe a combination of both, try to figure out what's the most likely pathway. So I'm considering all things. BNY, ANZ have this relationship with Ripple. They're two of the banks that have been screaming their heads off about liquidity enhancers. What do you need to to maximize the value that you reap from a liquidity enhancer? Bridge currencies. That's why I don't think people can minimize the relationship that BNY Mellon has with Ripple. Yes, it's beginning in a particular way. It does not end there. We haven't seen it where these companies begin in one way and it ends there. It always expands, but this is the first offering. This is them dipping their toe in the pool to see if the water is to their liking. After the toes go in the pool, follows the body. Let them dip their toes, but don't look at the dipping of the toes in the pool. I know this is a very wild way to put it, but it paints a certain picture. It conveys the point. Don't look at them dipping their toes in the pool and then just say, that's all that there is to that. That's it. They're not getting in that pool. They're just dipping their toes simply. They wouldn't be at the pool if they were not considering getting in the water. So that means they would not be dealing with Ripple, who's been pushing they've been pushing XRP so heavily that even I've been impressed. But they would not be dealing with this particular company if they were not interested in XRP, period. And now, once more, why? Because I know what someone's going to say. Well, make stable coins, which are silo limited. We've heard from, I was saying that for a year, okay, for a long time now. We saw it first. We discussed it when the BIS came out with that document talking about how stable coins aren't stable. That was like a year or two ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. Remember, the video's still up as proof. All right, so that's there. That's how long we've been talking about that. We confirmed it recently. All the major central banks are talking about the instability of stablecoins. ECB, the UK, you had rumblings within the United States. You just have the voices in the United States. Some of them are just a little bit louder than the ones that are, erring with a little bit of caution with stablecoins. So they're siloed and limited. You're going to need what for both? For the liquidity enhancer to maximize that, as well as to make the stablecoins function and keep them somewhat stable for a time, which is highly temporary. What do you need? Bridge, currency, liquidity. What does that sound like to you? XRP. Then there's another thing you got to add to this. Look all of this up, question everything. And if you like this information I'm giving you, hey, take those powerful hands of yours, go like this and hit that like button. I feel like we're cooking today. So when I pause, I'm gathering my thoughts. Let me gather before I take the shot. A little gather, and we take the shot. So that's what I was forgetting. So if you do a search, you'll see that there's been massive selling of XRP simultaneously. And this is what they claim. They claim that it's legacy holders, right? But simultaneously, while there's massive amounts of buying of XRP, and if you remember a while ago, like maybe about a week ago, I asked the question, who's doing that massive buying? Who is that? And I'll posit this, okay? Now, I believe Bitcoin is the archetype. If you know what's going on with Bitcoin, I believe you'll understand what's going on with XRP. So a lot of the Bitcoin whales, like the legacy whales, they've been there for a while. They're retail whales. They're not attached to a company, asset manager, etc., right? Government. They've been selling, but then there was massive buying of Bitcoin. Well, now we openly know that there are large asset managers and financial institutions and governments buying Bitcoin. So that sets the precedent. So if that's the case with Bitcoin, what do you think is happening here with a commodity that's hotter? In my humble opinion, I think is hotter and is going to be hotter than Bitcoin in the future. I'm not talking about price right now. I'm not worried about these prices. I'm not even worried about price up to $5. I'm looking beyond that, although I understand what's in front of me. It's like that old phrase, that old ancient phrase, and I'm going to mess it up, but it's akin to something like, keep your mind on the stars, but let your eyes watch your footsteps. I'm watching my footsteps, so one step at a time. This is how I move. However, they've been buying massive amounts of XRP. Then you're starting to see the whole XRP treasury collection. Folks, they're setting this all up right in front of everyone's eyes, and somehow simultaneously they're burying it because the mainstream media doesn't talk about it, because regular media, not even mainstream, regular media is just so obsessed with sensationalist stories that these types of things are not getting discussed. This is real stuff you can see. Not financial advice. I'm just a humble researcher presenting you with information. What you do with it's up to you. But I say look at it and see these things with your own eyes. So they've been selling massive amounts of XRP, and that's getting it out of the hands of the retail whales, and it's making its way into the hands, obviously based on the treasuries, and there's a treasury war going on. Hence why Ripple backed that particular company. What was it? Evernorth? Something like that. That's what that was all about. Because why? Interbank payments. Folks, and that's another thing. I'm putting together one of the absolute best members only videos I've ever done. I don't say that lightly. I've done a lot of great ones in my humble opinion because I work hard. I know I worked hard on them. I don't know what other people think. I just know what I think. So when I said that, it brought my mind back to this. I have so much information on this computer down here. Just make sure you're ready for that. Okay. If you're not in, you can get in. They have memberships now for Apple users. I didn't even know they didn't have that at first. I didn't know that. I don't claim to know everything about YouTube. I don't. I just post the videos, folks. I just post a video. But this next one, you're definitely going to want to see. It should be one of my absolute best, packed with info. And it'll be part 2 to the part 1. So you want to watch part 1 to understand what part 2 is leading to. So now, back to this. They're setting it all up. So interbank payments, they're going to need it for that. That's what triggered the thought. Folks, have you been researching what's going on inside the banks? You're like, oh, Mick, commercial banks? Folks, the commercial banks, the central banks, the Fed, they're keeping a secret. I'm not saying that lightly. I don't play around. I don't have time to waste, especially in these older years. And I know how valuable life is because I've lost a lot of people. I don't play around at all. I take things very seriously. They're hiding something massive. We're going to address that another time. I'm going to show evidence. So that makes me think about that. Interbank payments, liquidity on every level, liquidity, traceability. Holy smokes, people are underestimating traceability. Where's that money coming from? Where's it going to? XRPL solves all of this. XRP solves all of this. Ripple technology, SBI, it doesn't matter. They could use, and they would be wise to use the XRPL and any other bank coin outright. They could do it directly. My apologies. A little hair broke off on my mustache and landed on my lip. That's what had to remove. It happens. And so once all of that's flowing through here, once all of that value is flowing across the XRPL, there's no way it stays below $5, $8. No way. In my humble opinion, not financial advice. I only speak for me, not for you. So you could disagree, and that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. I want to show you this, right? Just to touch on this lightly, just to give you an example. So when I'm talking about value, there's nothing that won't be tokenized. Nothing. Everything is going to flow across chain. Not only the XRPL, but the XRPL is simply the head of an entire new system. The XRPL is working with Hedera. And XRPL is working with Cardano. Cardano's trying to work with Chainlink. I think they'll pull that off. I think Ripple, Cardano, and Chainlink all have a meeting. And then they settle that out and they'll be working together. If you think that's not possible, then, I mean, nobody thought it was going to be possible that Ripple, Hedera, and Cardano, all three will be working together, but they are. You can look that up, do a little Google search. Chainlink is going to come on board. This is about global domination, companies setting themselves up to do something legendary that never was done before, to acquire value and power, the likes of which have never been done before, because they have something that never existed before. That stands to allow those particular cryptos, XRP, Chainlink, Hedera, HBAR, and et cetera, anyone else chained to that, into the new financial system, the opportunity, not guaranteed, the opportunity to skyrocket. It just is not time yet. Everything happens in its own time. Everything has a cycle. Now, if you watch the cycles closely in anything, you can predict what is to come, what is most likely to come. You can prognosticate a little bit. All right, so now, if you just take 10 of these banks, that need bridge currencies, because they themselves have siloed systems. They themselves are going to have to connect to a neutral pipe. Sorry about that. A little stuff came out the mouth. Happens sometimes. You get a little enthusiastic, you might get a little spittle might come out. That's just real life, folks. All right, so now, but I beg your pardon, nonetheless. Just 10 of them that are siloed and going to have to connect to a neutral platform, which XRPL provides, Stellar provides, Hedera provides, Chainlink, they do their part. They provide a certain, part of that substratum. JP Morgan Chase, HSBC, Citi, BNP Paribas, Deutsche Bank, UBS, Standard Chartered, BNY Mellon, ANZ Bank, DBS Bank. You add just those alone, all of their values together, $25.1 trillion. You tell me so someone may try to minimize that. So be it. Okay. But while you're doing that, tell me what's not going to be tokenized, because payroll is going to be tokenized. We already know about the liquidity, all the various assets, stocks, everything like that's going to be tokenized. Bonds that's already happening. Treasuries of all different kinds, that's happening. Sorry, I might say like a little individual term, then I use the overarching term. That's just how I speak. There's nothing that's going to be left out of tokenization. That's not going to be happening. Even people are going to be on chain. Oh, that doesn't sound good. It's happening already. What do you think they're going to do? They're combining AI, DLT. DLT is the new system, and AI is a layer on that substratum. DLT, the new financial system, is the fundamental substratum of the future financial systems, really all systems. So they're getting people now for jobs. They have to wear these certain glasses that have AI technology in them, have cameras in them. Why do you think they're all rolling that out? Meta, Google, whatever those other companies are, they all have them. They have these watches now. They watch your heart rhythm in a set of smart watches. All of that's going to run on chain. Why? Because they need to save value. They want to implement that, but they have to save value. If not, it's going to be too expensive. Everything's too expensive. They want to save value and make value at the same time. I don't know if I'm explaining that the best way possible, but I'm doing the best that I can. Everything, there's nothing, this is what I'm trying to convey. Nothing is going to be left off chain. The information, I'm not just talking about the information is going to flow across chain. And the information is going to be tied to value. Why? Because with a lot of these chains, what they're hiding is things like surge pricing. That price goes up the more the chain is used, and there's congestion. Then the price of that asset goes up. XLM, XRP, things like this. Look into this. I'm just throwing things out there. I know some have that. I think most of them have that. And that's a way to curb to decide who's prioritized in transactions at heavy times of flow, scalability or not. Things are going to get really, really busy on these chains. So just things like that, folks, it's getting hot in here. It's just that, when you start looking at these bank documents and things like that, it's not what's going to be, spoken about very often. It's not going to get people lots of clicks and views. It's powerful, but it doesn't have that. I don't know how to say it. It's not like, it doesn't have that popular culture appeal, Now, this is all going to make sense once you see the members only video, folks. This leads into that. Everything I'm doing right now leads into that next members only video. I promise you. So I'm going to leave that here. Trillions. They're worth 71 trillion, just 10 of them. Now, think about it. There's thousands upon thousands of banks that are looking to get into the new financial system. Only 10 of them. 10 of them. All of their value is 25.1 trillion. How much value do you think that all of these other banks are going to bring to chain? And one chain will flow into the next. All the top chains need each other. They all serve a certain purpose. And there's not many of them that are good, that are solid. I'm not worried about stablecoins. They're a gateway. They're a Trojan horse. So now I want to go here. Let me drop a little bit extra information on you. I'm not sure how long this video is now. Not that it should matter any longer. Times have changed, it seems. Let's go here. So this article is titled, "Here's Why November 13th Could Be the Most Important Date for XRP Holders in Recent Years." XRP it says the date of November 13th, my apologies, now looms large on the calendar. It may mark a pivotal moment when cryptocurrency access for U.S. institutions shifts significantly. As flagged by analyst Paul Barron, this day could usher in a regulated path to U.S. spot XRP ETFs, ushering in a new era for the asset. One of the key developments underlying the November 13th marker is the filing update by asset manager Canary Capital. The firm removed a delaying amendment from its S1 registration, a signal that the paperwork may be shifting into an auto-effective window. Very nice, very nice. And I hope I made what I was saying from that first article very clear, because they're utilizing it as a liquidity enhancer, which I forgot to also add in there. They will pull from the liquidity of these liquidity tokens. No doubt about it. This is why I'm certain of it now. That's why they're doing these treasuries. Yes, they're going to profit outright on them. Having the treasury is also for liquidity. And now there's a reason. There's a reason I'm saying this. But once more, I'm going to say that for the members, they deserve that type of information. I'll show certain things, say certain things over there. OK, and hopefully you feel the power of it. It's just as much as I have. I think there's a clear picture being painted. So so liquidity enhancer, I think, means a lot more than what they're alluding to. And then once more, if they're utilizing tokenized assets, they're going to need bridge currencies, which one provides liquidity as well as bridge currency aspect on a neutral platform that has actual global reach and has the connections that all the banks need because they built corridors all around the world. Which one meets that qualification? All right. So now it says here, this move, back to this article here, this move gives the market a tangible timeline rather than mere speculation for when the spot XRP ETF could hit the U.S. market. Until that kind of procedural revision was visible, timing remained vague and open-ended. All right. So we're going to leave that one off there. Let's go here. I believe I had a little bit of Bitcoin news. Well, you know what? Let's do a little bit of altcoin news before we get to the Bitcoin news. It says here, this is interesting. A little bit of altcoin, a little bit of Bitcoin news. It says altcoins to rally as Bitcoin dominance mirrors July 2025 setup. It says Bitcoin dominance is creating a familiar pattern that points to an incoming altcoin surge. This development comes as the general crypto market continues to show high levels of volatility driven by macro influences, as seen in the majority of October. What happened to the time? Wait a minute. Is the time correct? I could have sworn I must have seen incorrectly. I don't know. The time is like, whoa, wait a minute. I must have seen incorrectly. Let's keep going. In an X post on November 1st, renowned. Well, that means I'm behind. I better hurry up. In an X post on November 1st, renowned market expert with username Plan D outlines an insightful analysis of the Bitcoin dominance chart, which measures the percentage of Bitcoin's share of the total crypto market cap. Generally, a rise in Bitcoin dominance indicates the premier cryptocurrency is outperforming other cryptocurrencies, while a vice versa indicates the opposite, with extreme situations representing an alt season. All right. Well, according to Plan D, the Bitcoin dominance is now forming a similar trend, which mirrors the altcoin rally in July 2025. Notably, the BTC.D sustained an uptrend of approximately 50 days before breaking down to significant levels, representing a heavy rotation of capital to other cryptocurrencies outside of Bitcoin. All right. I can respect that. I respect that. I see where they're coming from. The charts do look that way from what this individual is presenting. But once more, I am a catalyst man. I'm looking at the companies who wants Bitcoin, at large asset managers, nations, etc., and news like that. Right. It's very bullish. And so because of that, I believe Bitcoin remains super bullish. All right. So now let's go here. I believe I had a little bit more Bitcoin news. I hope let's see. So this article is titled, we'll read this little tidbit here. It's from yahoo.com. They've been doing a good job over there. And I remember for years, I really didn't see articles from yahoo.com, to be quite honest. Now, if this article would only load, it's just, I'm trying to get it to load and it's just spinning and spinning. So now this article is titled Bitcoin, the Dawn of a New Monetary Era. And it begins here on October 31st, 2008. Oh, they go into the whole Satoshi Nakamoto thing. Why do they always have to revisit this? We know the story very, very well. We do. So the genesis of Bitcoin, a response to financial instability. We know that. We also know that while Bitcoin is doing great and is going to continue to do great for a while longer, that things like XRP were made to be a better Bitcoin. No disrespect. I like Bitcoin as well as XRP. All right. but that's just a fact. I just popped into my mind. The true nature of Bitcoin, freedom beyond FUD. Okay, Bitcoin does not need permission. Yes, we know this. So articles like this, I'm assuming that this is made for newcomers to Bitcoin. But how many newcomers are there to Bitcoin? I just personally, I see more newcomers to altcoins than Bitcoin. And how many newcomers are reading articles like this? Right. I would think that they're going to probably YouTube or maybe TikTok. Is TikTok heavy on crypto videos? I wouldn't know, folks. I can't tell you something I don't know, but it's a popular platform. I would assume probably there is crypto influencers on there, etc. That may educate people on Bitcoin. But that's where people will go. They're going to videos. A lot of people, my personal experience, I love reading, but a lot of people do not like reading articles. Bitcoin is not just money. It's the ultimate tool for liberation. Okay, we're going to leave off here. I did not expect this article to go this way. All right. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. Bitcoin's super bullish. That's the summation of all of that information, in my humble opinion. And the future is very bright for Bitcoin as well as the top cryptocurrencies. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.